the Senate approved a resolution calling for the suspension of the guidelines for outbound travelers. So tell us the value of this, Senate President, and what would be the next steps?
Alam mo, Pinky, maraming na-alarma nung isang araw, paglabas po ng balita and all news stations, including yours, that there will be a new set of guidelines for those traveling outside the Philippines. Alam mo, nakaka-alarma ito, Pinky, because it really hampers our constitutional right to travel. And that's why I delivered a privileged speech yesterday, because on September 3, these guidelines are going to be implemented. Let me just put this in proper perspective. Nasa Article 3, Section 6 ng ating Constitution, and I quote, if I may be able to read this, the liberty of abode and changing of the same within the limits prescribed by law shall not be impaired except upon lawful order of the court. Neither shall the right to travel be impaired except in the interest of national security, public safety, or public health, or unless otherwise provided for by law. So, Pinky, constitutional right po natin yan. That's a constitutional right. The Constitution is not recommendatory. It is mandatory. It must be followed. It must be followed to the hilt. No, it's not subject to interpretation as far as the legal minds are concerned. And that's why yesterday, pagbigay po natin ng privilege speech sa Senado, lahat ng senador na abogado, starting with our minority floor leader, Senator Coco Pimentel, Senator Chisa Escudero, Senator Sani Angara, Senator Tol Tolentino, and our other legal minds like Senator Alan Cayetano, said that it is a curtailment of a constitutional right. Now, kung wala po ito sa Constitution, pwede po tayo makipagdebate about it. But the truth be told, it is in the Constitution.
Okay.
So, it is the right of every Filipino to travel. Unless it's the interest of national security, public health, or public safety.
Okay.
In this case, napaka-stricto, no, Pinky, no? Napaka-stricto ng guidelines. It will really curtail the right of Filipinos to travel. That's our point.
Understandable, sir. But the question is, this is supposed to be implemented on September 3. That's Sunday. I think it's September 3 or September 4. But anyway, it's supposed to be implemented in a matter of days. What would the value of this Senate resolution have? Are there plans for you or some senators to speak to officials of the IACAT under the DOJ?
Yes, well, we're going to submit to them formally, whether today or tomorrow, the resolution that we passed. It was an unnumbered resolution that we passed yesterday, motu proprio, because of the urgency of the matter. And it's appealing, no, to the IACAT na to suspend muna itong kanilang guidelines, implementation of the guidelines, until we can study this further. When I say study this further, we're going to ask them to go to the Senate and explain to the senators and to the Filipino people bakit kailangan itong gawin. Alam ko naman, naintindihan ko naman, I'm sure nanonood mga taga-DOJ na umaga, taga-IACAT, they want to curtail or curb
human trafficking.
Illegal human trafficking. And tama naman yan. But there are ways to do it without undue and unnecessary requirements, no, that are really burdensome to our people, na napakahirap kunin itong mga requirements sa Piggy. If I told you the requirements, it's this thick. It's several pages thick of requirements. And alam mo, napaka-burdensome itong requirements, napaka-costly, and may lead to discrimination and corruption. It's open to it's open to interpretation and corruption. May secondary screening. Pag hindi ka pumasa sa first primary screening, may secondary screening. Dadaling ka nila sa isang kwarto para pakita mo sa kanila lahat, para hindi ka magperwisyo doon sa immigration line. They'll put you in a separate room. They will ask for separate documents. And these are a lot of documents. They're asking for, imagine, sa ka nakakita, mabiyahe ka, magdadala ka ng graduation picture, magdadala ka ng yearbook, magdadala ka ng affidavit of it's a
affidavit of support.
An affidavit that is duly authenticated by the Philippine Embassy and Consulate na pupuntahan mo. Biro mo yan. Pinky, if you're a first-time traveler, pupunta ka ng Japan, kukuha ka pa ng affidavit ng sa Philippine Embassy sa Japan na sponsored ka, itong gagawin mo, meron talaga magsusundo sa'yo. Kalokohan yan, Pinky.
Okay.
I think North Korea lang yata, no? It will become just us and North Korea who have this type of guidelines. Alam mo yung North Korea, ayaw nilang paalisin. Kung nanood kayo ng crash landing on you, hindi nila pinapalis yung mga citizens nila
SP.
sa North Korea.
So,
kalokohan yan. And
So,
you
to
have
be
to bring your
fair-
original birth certificate?
Yeah, to be
How
fair,
can you bring your original birth? I mean,
hindi,
my birth certificate is 54 years old, for crying out loud.
No.
Why would I bring a original birth certificate? Kalokohan talaga, Pinky. Nakaka-perwisyo. And again, you know, Pinky, I'll tell you, last year alone, 32,000 Filipinos, 32,400 Filipinos were offloaded. Offloaded, hindi pinayagan sumakay sa kanilang mga aeroplano at mga biyahe. And only 1.4% of the total number offloaded were actual cases of human trafficking. 1.4% out of 32,000. Ngayon, ang tanong ko, Pinky, sino magbabayad na kanilang ticket? Na obviously, pag binayaran mo, lalo na pag ginamit mo itong mga budget carriers, walang refund yun. Pangalawa, sino, Pinky, ang magbabayad na kanilang hotel? Na alam naman natin, pag pumunta ka sa airport, hihingin nila yung hotel details mo. Ibig sabihin, binayaran mo na yan. Di ba? Advance payment yan.
Okay.
Sino babayad sa kanila dyan? Kaya nga sabi nga ni Senator Escudero kahapon, he had a very novel idea na under the budget deliberations and budget General Appropriations Act that we will pass, we will put a provision na pag in-offload ka, refundable yan under the Bureau of Immigration's budget, because apparently meron palang fee silang kinokolekta, meron po silang pera na natatanggap at income natatanggap tuwing may magbabiyahe, tuwing may mga iba't ibang I think income generation itong Bureau of Immigration, doon daw kukunin sa budget nila. So that they'll be very careful in offloading you kasi mababawasan yung budget nila.
But,
That's a very
sir,
good idea.
let me also say this, no? If that is so, if Senator Cheese is saying that, hindi lang po dapat yung ticket kung mapatunayan na nagkamali po sila. Dahil yung perwisyo nung tao po doon sa hotel, doon sa pag-file niya ng leave, etc., all that is affected. But again, I'm with you in the quest, no, to fight human trafficking. But as you mentioned, sir, as you said, there should be other ways. However, in parts of the requirements, I don't think really indicated that you need to bring your yearbook. Wala. Pero meron po yung sinabi niyong affidavit of support, kung kayo po ay sponsored, etc. And the birth certificate should be yung pong galing sa Philippine Statistics
But they've asked that before,
Authority.
Pinky.
Yes.
They've asked that request for yearbook pictures.
Opo. I know. Kaya siguro nabalikan niyo po yun.
Kasi
Yeah.
they have to call their homes in the provinces na halukatin yung kanilang mga dokumento.
Yeah, that was an issue. So SP, ang tanong po siguro kasi ngayon, kailangan na po kasi ito i-implement in a matter of days. So siguro yung mga pasahero na nakikinig sa atin ngayon, ang tanong ho, ano kaya mangyayari? When will we find out if the IACAT will suspend this for the meantime pending this resolution or appeal by the senators?
Well, I hope they come up with an order soon. We're appealing to the president. We're sending the document also to the president's office. We're sending the resolution. And in the meeting with the private sector interest groups, advisory council, Pinky, nagsalita nga si Presidente na wag naman natin gawin yan na gano'n ka-stricto. Na ang balita doon sa advisory council, they will meet once again with the DOJ who heads the IACAT to discuss why the guidelines are so strict. Alam mo, Pinky, no, katulad ng binanggit mo, ikaw, you and I, no, tayo po ay sang-ayon na pigilin itong human trafficking syndicates na ito. There are many ways of doing it. We can go after the illegal recruiters, number one. Number two, obviously, if you have fake documents, pagdating doon sa airport, mahuhuli ka. Diyan, pwede na natin mahuli. Ito yung 1.4% out of the 32,000 Filipinos that were offloaded. And of course, Alam mo kung pupunta ka, for example, Japan, Pinky, and other countries that need visa, that have visa requirements, nagka-screening na yan eh. You were already screened by the embassy. Napakaigpit ng embassy kaya pag humingi ng document for their visas. So, pag may, rule of thumb, pag may visa na po kayo in a visa-required country, huwag na natin pahirapan yun. Tuloy na po ang biyahe. For example, may visa ka papunta ng Amerika. Aba, bakit mo pang hinga na sobrang daming requirements, no? Ganito kakapal na requirements sa ating mga pasahero.
Okay.
Again, as I said, no, the issues are it is burdensome, costly, and may lead to discrimination and corruption. Kasi nangyayari dito, Pinky, it is, di ba in some countries there's what you call racial profiling.
Yeah.
Ito hindi racial profiling, it is economic profiling. Titignan ba nila, nakachinelas ka ba? Hindi ka magaling mag-English. Sabi mo, hindi na masyado magaling mag-English. Barok mag-English. Aba, kagad-agad for secondary screening na yan. Kasi sasabihin nila, baka hindi to, walang kapasidad dito gumastos. I just want to put on record, Pinky, no, kung lalong mapaganda natin ang ating ekonomiya, lalo na ang gusto ng ating Pangulo na by 2028, magiging middle-income family na po tayo, middle-income country rather, middle-income countries, and our families will be more middle-income rather than below the, or right by the poverty level. Mas malaki po ang tinatawag natin spending power. Mas may naipon po ang ating mga kababayan para makabiyahe. Kung gusto po nila magbiyahe, first time nila gusto nila pumunta ng Hong Kong, gusto po nila pumunta ng Singapore, ba't natin po sila ipigilan? Hindi naman lahat ng gustong bumiyahe gusto mag-TNT doon. Alam naman nila pagdating doon sa mga bansa na pag mag-TNT po sila, madideport sila, mahuhuli sila, madideport sila, lalo na sa Singapore, sa Japan, napaka-strict.
Sir, let me interject, SP, no?
It's very important na malaman natin sa IACAT ano ba talaga ang posisyon nila o bakit po ganun ka tindi na posisyon nila pagdating po sa mga travelers sa labas ng bansa.
Quick, I want to interject this, sir. You were saying,
Sure.
it was a point that was raised many times, even on social media. If you have visas already, for example, Schengen or from the United States, very strict po yung mga kailangan mong isubmit na, there's a lot of documents that need to be submitted. This is just my quick question, sir. How about in countries where visa is not required? Do you suggest that siguro pwedeng maging mas mahigpit ang IACAT doon sa mga bansa na hindi nangangailangan ng visa, where we don't have to submit all these there would that be a possible solution?
Well, it's still unfair, Pinky, because we are several countries, like for example, Israel, I know Hong Kong, for example, the ASEAN nations, all the ASEAN nations, you don't need to have a visa. Now, obviously, kung first time visitor ka, gusto mo bumisita sa mga areas na walang visa kasi there's no hassle.
Mas madali.
It's less of a hassle. Mas madaling puntahan. Pero katulad ng binanggit ko, it is the call of the nation when they enter there. It's the call of the nation. Pagdating mo doon, for example, sa Hong Kong, dapat yung Hong Kong immigration officer magtatanong, may hotel ka ba? Ano bang itinerary mo sa 5 araw na nakalagay dito na bibisita ka sa aming bansa? So that's the call of the immigration officer there. It's not the call of our immigration officer here.
All right. I get your point.
Unless there's a law that we passed, and I know wala tayong batas na ginawa yun. I'll give you the right to travel is, again, I said, is in Article 3, Section 6 of our Constitution. It is also in the Universal Human Rights Declaration. It says here that the right to travel shall be impaired. Neither shall the right to travel be impaired. And everyone has the right to leave any country, including his own, to return to his country. It's a Universal Human Rights Declaration. And the Supreme Court has ruled many times and that police power is not absolute. Police power, the Supreme Court has ruled that it must be in the interest of the general public, and means employed has to be reasonably necessary to accomplish the purpose and not unduly oppressive to individuals.
All right.
Ang actually nagbigay po interest sa akin dito sa issue na ito, nung in-interview po nila isang abogado sa airport, at binanggit lang abogado, and he said, no, it's a constitutional right of every Filipino to travel. They should not be unduly, unnecessarily impaired from this right. So,
Okay.
dyan po kami,
Diyan naka-angkla, SP, yung inyong...
nakatayo.
Yeah.
Doon kami naka-angkla,
Okay.
Pinky. And
All right.
I think our colleagues in the Senate, we all spoke as one. United po kami, all crossing party lines, na hindi dapat ganito kahigpit ang ating mga requirements for travelers. Lalo na first-time travelers, Pinky. Sabi ko nga kanina, pag yumaman ng bansa, meron mga kababayan natin na magiging middle-income families, kaya na po nila magbiyahe. That's millions of first-time travelers. I don't think we should be giving them such a hard time on their constitutional right to travel.